Hello, good day, everyone. Welcome to this Southeast Asia Conference on Media, Cinema, and Art, which is held by Center for Southeast Asian Social Studies in Universitas Gadjah Mada. This year, we will discuss so many themes about rediscovering Southeast Asia amidst its multi-layered burdens. So we will talk about the varieties of what is Southeast Asia, and in our session today, we will specifically talk about identity, especially about how this identity contesting in Southeast Asian cinema. So we have 5 presenters, 5 papers that we will discuss this noon. And I am welcome for all the presenters. Are they already here yet? I want to welcome Miss Bunga Siagian. Hello, Bunga.
Hello.
And Mr. Haryadi.
Hello.
Hello. I see Dr. Hani Salwa Yaakob from Malaysia. Is it right?
Yes, I am. Hi.
Miss Ratna from Pajajaran University.
Okay, good afternoon.
Hello. Okay, I guess Pak Heru. Pak Heri, I'm sorry, Pak Heri Purwoko from Binus University. Hello, Pak Heru. Pak Heri, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Okay, I will introduce myself. My name is Meike Lucia Carolus. I am a lecturer at UPN Veteran Yogyakarta, and I will be your moderator for this session. And I hope we can enjoy our discussion. So many things that we can talk about identities in Southeast Asian cinema. I myself focus on intimacy and cinema in Indonesia, so which is very related to the theme that we will discuss this noon. So without further hesitation, I will welcome Pak Heri and his partner Reynaldo to present their paper. I will give you 15 minutes maximum so that you can probably highlight what you want to talk in your paper, your analysis, your input to the theme about Asian cinema and here. The time is yours. Please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Wait. I have to share screen first, right? Can you see the presentation?
Yeah, it's still processing. Miss Socha, our co-host, can help Pak Heri and give him spotlight so that we can see his face too.
All right. Let's do it. Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Heri Purwoko from Binus University, Jakarta, Indonesia. In this presentation or research, the title is "The Portrayal of Southeast Asian Female Character in Action Films: A Comparative Study of Chocolate, 2008, Valentine, 2017, and also Raya and the Last Dragon, 2021." Action films are dominated by men as the main character and their iconography, but as protagonists and also the antagonists. Men as described as strong, moving fast, mastering combat equipment, able to defend themselves, and full of tactics and strategies in dealing with their opponents. Meanwhile, in many cases, the female figure is only a complement, depicted as a character that needs to be protected or saved. Through a cultural studies approach, this article or this research explore the characteristic of the main female character in the film Chocolate, Valentine, and also the Raya and Chocolate, Raya and the Last Dragon, to look at the potential impact of this representation in the context of cultural globalization. Male and female characters are portrayed basically differently. Here are the variation of the term which can relate to the idea of powerful female heroes, encompassing from action chicks, action babe, girl hero, feminist hero, female fighter, and also female warrior. In this research, I will employ the term of female action hero because by calling her heroine is, in my opinion, indicated a role which less dominant and more capable of being controlled, quote by men. Okay, movies like Charlie's Angel, Resident Evil, Catwoman, and Flux, and Elektra fuse girl power with sex appeal to varying degrees of success. And we can see the action film has established itself as one of the leading genre which has been present in the film industry for a long time. Hayward 2006 goes to say that although action film are clearly an intensely male category of film, nonetheless they have spawned a few female action heroes. There are three types of female represented in action film. The love interest, such as Mary Jane in Spider-Man, Lois Lane in Superman, and also Christine Palmer in Doctor Strange. The second one is the mother figure, such as May Parker in the Amazing Spider-Man, Martha Kent in the Superman, and also the Frigga, or the mother of Thor. And then the last one is the femme fatale, such as Selina Kyle in the Dark Knight Rises, Batman, Natasha Romanoff or Black Widow in the Avengers, and also Ivy or Poison Ivy in Gotham or Batman. In Western films, women are shown as strong and capable of fighting men. What about women in Southeast Asia? Is it same, or is it still constrained by the prevailing Eastern norms? Okay, as I just in the research title, the idea of female hero in this research draws on the notion of narrative hero, which according to Bernstein is defined as individual elevated moral stature and a superior ability who pursues his goal in the face of powerful antagonists. So in this research, I will use the visual appearance, the speeds, the female speeds, and also their behavior. In Chocolate, the first film that I had to say that, by the way, the story about an autistic woman with powerful martial arts skill looks to settle her ailing mother's death. We can see the Zen, the female protagonist or the female heroes. The female in this slide wearing a white flowery shirt, long pants, long messy hair. She looked aggressive, ambitious, and also domineering attitude. The film originally included Zen, the female character, watching scene from Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan movies. It showed up a clip that Bruce Lee doing in his fight moves in the same thing as Zen was mimicking Bruce Lee moves. The warehouse scene in this film was shot in a similar fashion, but at this time it showed a split screen of Zen imitating Jackie Chan. The film that young Zen and Mamoon also watched the Ong Bak, the Thai warrior from 2003, and also watched The Protector 2005. From this scene, we can see the Zen, the female character, capture man or male hero as a symbol of strength, and she tries to be like that. Then the second film is Valentine. This is an Indonesian film. We can see the man recruits girl under the guise of make a movie, while Riley trying to turn her into the masked vigilante. The female heroes in this film look unrealistic, although this is a superhero, and also sexualized representation of female figure with large chest, in the curved chest, backside, and the hourglass dimension. Their skin tight outfit accentuate their sexuality with plunging necklines and the skin. The third one is the Raya and the Last Dragon setting in a realm known as Kumandra, reimagined Earth inhabited by ancient civilization. The Raya, the warrior, determined to find the last dragon. The most profound difference between Raya and the most Disney princess movie is that Raya story does not revolve around love or marriage. Maybe it's like Moana. This also asserts that woman concern does not revolve around marriage or being slave or saved by men. There are more important stories to tell. Raya and the Last Dragon beautifully breaks a cycle of women only being included in narrative, which feature their willingness to dehumanize themselves for a chance of love. The concerning issue of sex.
I'm sorry, Pak
Yep.
Harry, your PPT is still not working. Can you just stop for a moment so the committee can help you?
All right, but that's a little different in the ending.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay. So maybe you
Okay.
can try it again.
All right.
Okay, finally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Please
this
continue.
okay. Female hero in this film are shown to be complex character, each with their own motives, beliefs, and flaws they struggle with throughout the films. Zen, Srimaya, and Raya has outstanding fighting skill battling against men, twice their size, blurring their conventional notion of gender binary. They are neither viewed as a passive secondary character, nor an object of male gaze. But she moves, they are moves a step further, playing a role as tough and independent protagonist who is able to save herself without any help for any male character. Okay, for some, seeing women depicted in this way can be just as impactful as seeing them smash the patriarchy. I think that's a short presentation for me, and thank you for all listening.
Well, thank you, Harry, for present to us about what your research about representation, female heroes in Southeast Asian films. And as we can see in your research that through times that female heroes in Southeast Asian films are developed, we can see from the Western point of view that there always of female heroes with either masculine side or just a feminine with hypersexualized, but recent movies like Raya, like you tried to elaborate in your paper, is quite challenging for the gender binary and present androgynous female figure, and it's quite I don't know, feels like difference and can color our mindset through gender construction in Southeast Asian society. So we can discuss more about your research, but we can keep it later along with other presenters. Thank you so much, Mas Heri and Mas Reynaldo, from Binus University Jakarta. So
thank you.
We can continue to our next presenter. I invite Mr. Haryadi, Mr. Taufikur Rahman, Mr. Arisal Mutahir, and Ms. Rili Windiasi from Jenderal Sudirman University, Purwokerto.
Okay, thank you for this opportunity to present our research. Unfortunately, only me who can come here. Actually, we haven't finished the research, so hopefully it will be less than 15 minutes. Okay, I'll share my presentation file. Can you see that? Okay. Our research paper is entitled "Female Agency in Contemporary Indonesian Horror Films." The background of our research is that Indonesian horror films from the outset represent women in exploitative and sexualized manner. I quoted from Iki Imanjaya, 2010. In several films, female characters are seen as independent and not just victims, but women are still sexually objectified. Besides as social objects, women also presented as scary figure because the ghosts are mostly depicted as women. The scary object is the feminine body, since almost all the female characters turn into ghosts with terrible appearances. The feminine grotesque, deeply tying together motifs of femininity with horror, is a common element of Indonesian horror. As I quoted from Kus Mariati, 2009. Women are used as sexual objects in horror films to fulfill the sexual needs of male characters and to strengthen the privilege of men over women. In the New Order, women in horror film are submissive and dependent on men. In the post-New Order era, survivors who are more independent, active but still cannot truly escape from a patriarchal culture. In our article, we use what is called the female agency perspective to explain the representation of women in contemporary horror films. And the main question we ask in this research is how many female characters are represented in horror film in terms of female agency. In terms of female agency that we talk about, refer to what has been written by Sabah Mahmud. The process and condition that subprint a person are also by which that person has self-awareness and agency. Agency is always a process of creating and remaking society and culture. Agency is part of the power matrix, yet allow people to act in pursuit of their own goals. There are two kinds of agency that we're going to employ to analyze movie here. Intrinsic agency refer to self-confidence and awareness of their rights, and also instrumental agency, the ability to influence one's own life by having the power to make choices and control the resources needed. I have used this perspective before in my presentation in Cafe Conference 2010. When analyzing contemporary Islamic film, women still have agency, yet the existing agency is not a progressive one because it is limited and constructed by a network of power. The research approach that we use in this research is qualitative method with narrative analysis, and our research material are Pengabdi Setan or Satan Slave in 2017 and Perempuan Tanah Jahanam or Impetigor, officially translated as Impetigor in 2019. The Satan Slave is a 2017 Indonesian horror film written and directed by Joko Anwar. It is a loose remake prequel to the 1980 film of the same name, directed by Siswaro Gautama Putra. The plot follows a no poor and helpless family haunted by the death of their mother, who dies after being bedridden for 3 years from a strange and debilitating illness. One of the female character in Satan Slave follows the archetype of a female guest in other horror films who become ghosts after she dies. However, this film is different from other ghost films in which female characters take revenge on men because during their lifetime, they were made to suffer, even killed by men. In this film, one of the female character, Mawari, dies after being sick for 3 years. The target of terror from Mawari Ghost is her own family, without knowing why she did that. As the film goes through half of it, it is discovered that Mawani joined a satanic cult associated with female fertility. Mawani joined the sect because she had no children, even though she had been married for a long time. After Mawani joined the sect, she managed to have up to 4 children. As the consequence of having children by joining the devil worshipper is that the last child at the age of 7 will be taken by the sect. At the end of film, there's some kind of explanation that it is indeed part of a grand plan of the satanic cult to expand its power. However, in this film, women are neither depicted as ghosts nor soul victim. In this film, the issue of fertility and patriarchy are on display because what I have said before, the women join the satanic cult just to have children. Considering the fact that Mawari became a ghost after she died due to her joining into the satanic worshipper groups and her joining due to this of female fertility, it can be said that she is a victim of patriarchal ideology. One of the things that is emphasized in the patriarchal ideology is that women must have children because their main and first love is as mother who carry out reproductive function. Having children and becoming a mother is constructed as the dream of all Indonesian women. This is due to the perception that requires women to have children or offspring in order to be considered as true and complete women. In the context of Indonesian society, the ideal woman is considered into 2 things, namely as a wife who serves her husband and is able or should be able to provide offspring in the household, and as a good and wise mother able to educate, raise her children. Thus, women as subject cannot be separated from the state ideology that developed at that time. Julius Surya Kusumo called it as Ibism, as women are required to be able to produce offspring and give birth to the nation child. However, the main character is not the ghost, but her child, a woman who has to take care of her family and takes initiative to find the answer for the supernatural problem. Mawani herself is not an ideal mother, an antagonist who is far from the concept of mother as an ideal woman. That is not to mention that although in the first place it is said that Mawani was able to bear child through a supernatural method or worshipping Satan, Mawani was actually impregnated by members of the cult, not the Satan itself. It is depicted by the children who are distinctly different from each other. It showed that Mawani is an object where the power of men operates. It's also affirmed in the statement 1991 that in most Indonesian horror films there are forms of violence and demonstration of power by men against women. And in the case of this film, it is shown by off-screen sexual engagement of Mawani and an unknown number of men. The main female character in this film actually Rini, the eldest child of Mawani. Rini's presence in the film can actually be said to show the agency because she is the one who takes care of the problem. This was especially apparent after the death of her mother, because after her mother's funeral, Rini's father went to town for a few days. That being said, that the role played by Rini is the usual domestic role assigned to women in the patriarchal world. She even has to abandon her college education to the financial difficulty endured by her family. And meanwhile, her male brother can still go to school. There are only a few occasions when she shows her agency outside the traditional sphere of born women. One of them when she tried to find a solution to the supernatural problem by going to the city to meet her grandmother's friend who has knowledge on supernatural events, particularly surrounding the mystery of her mother's past. Another one is in the first scene when she met with a musical producer played by the film director Joko Anwar himself to ask for royalty from her mother musical album. Even though she is practically a leader in her family as they try to deal with supernatural events threatening them, the female agency is limited and constructed only in two scenes that I mentioned before. The second film that we investigate is Imbitigor. Imbitigor is 2019 Indonesian horror film, again written and directed by Joko Anwar. It was released in Indonesia on October 17, 2019, and show at the Sundance Film Festival on January 26, 2020. At the last year festival in Indonesia, the film received 17 nominations and won 6. This is a different subgenre of horror. It's a mix of supernatural and psychological drama, and a bit of slasher. The main female character is neither ghost nor the ultimate victim. Imbitigor, albeit Imbitigor represents the supernatural element, not in the form of ghosts. The ghosts are still present, but they are rather minor element in the film. The supernatural element on this film are rather supernatural powers possessed by a female shaman and black magic art practiced by a shadow puppetry master. The terrorizing ghost is indeed appear in the end of the film. This is the story of an urban woman inherit a house in her ancestral village, but she's unaware that members of the community have been trying to locate and kill her to remove the ghost that has plagued them for years. In the end of the film, the woman is able to reverse curse based on her old family ties. It follows Maya, the main character, in the aftermath of having her life threatened by a mysterious man that claimed that her name is Rahayu. In order to find the answer, she and her friend travel to a remote village where she once lived with her parents. When the two arrive, they begin to notice a tremendous amount of unnamed infant graves and funerals that occur nearly every day. As the film progresses, it is revealed that a curse was placed on the village that caused babies to be born without any skin. The only way to break the curse, according to an elder, is to kill Maya/Rahayu and turn her skin into puppets, just as her father did to the 3 young girls 20 years prior. When the film begins, Maya starts to notice that spirits of 3 young girls are following her as she travels to the village. When her mother became pregnant, Maya was actually born without skin. Her father then used black magic to give his daughter skin, sacrificing 3 young girls and turning them into puppets. While it is assumed that the father who created the curse, it was actually her grandmother who placed the curse that caused Maya to be born without skin. Ultimately, she able to end the curse with the help of the spirit of the young girls. In our reading, the film resembles the patriarchal narrative that usually exists, namely the male figure, the father as the patron, and the female as the object. Maya has been able to overcome all obstacles in her own way in order to bury the puppets in the heritage house. Maya is a heroine who experience and overcome obstacle for something that in the end of the film we feel to be unclear and has no end. In this film, female agency appears to be stronger than in the Satin Slave film that I mentioned before. Women are main figure, but in terms of starting and ending the tragedy. In Satin Slave, the mother figure in this film presented as monstrous mother, a mother who treats her own children in the person as the person that she should protect the most. The film presents Misty, a female shaman, as a monstrous mother, since she's the one who placed the curse on her daughter-in-law, her daughter-in-law, who doesn't know that she is actually her mother-in-law, who betrayed her husband. I mean, the daughter-in-law betrayed her husband when she had an affair, and as a result, gave a birth to Maya. So Maya was actually not the shadow puppeteer child. The curse made Maya's daughter to forget the curse made her daughter-in-law forget the affair. The shaman is also the one who is responsible for the cause of having babies without skin to the villager. In Imbitigor, it is not only the monstrous mother who appears as the film, but the film also presents the monstrous father who possesses the greatest threat to his children by killing babies born without skin. However, it is also Maya's father who saves her from her grandmother who wants to kill her. The women in Impetigore have strong character in the form of power, courage, heroism, and leadership as a form of representation of feminist value. The character of power is presented by the grandmother. Meanwhile, courage, heroism, and leadership presented by Maya and Ratih, a villager who helped Maya. However, we found that the agency of Maya and Ratih is more intrinsic than instrumental as they display their self-contribution and awareness of their rights. It is not instrumental as they do not have the necessary power to make choices and control the resources needed. Thus, such should be able to influence one's own life. Ironically, it is Misni, the female shaman, who is represented as having instrumental female agency. And the last one, both film actually represent women as strong human character without turning them, especially main character as girls, especially in the Impetigore film. In both film also display a female agency, a bit of some limitation that I have mentioned before. In Satan Slave, the female agency is very limited, but in Impetigore, the female agency is stronger. However, the instrumental agency is ironically displayed by the female shaman, I think we also need to see how the horror director construct female and femininity in the film. It is the one that we hope we can do in the second year of our research. That's in next year. Thank you for watching and listening my presentation. I return the time back to the moderator.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pak Haryadi, for sharing the research once again about female agency in horror Indonesian films. And similar with Mas Harry's research, that's always make us the scholars of critical film studies to once again investigate the patriarchy in the representation in the movies, and that's why we want to highlight the findings in your research, both for Harry and Haryadi, that there's always contestation identity in female or masculinity or in a general gender. It's always be contested, and once again it's somehow we try to questioning why it's always contested, because sometimes it's not just contestation. It's not about contestation identity, but somehow it's our perspective to try to understand the pain, the horror, and the horror is always at some point intertwined with the fear, like what Haryadi found in the movie Pengabdi Setan and Perempuan Tanah Jahanam in Impetigore that the role of female as an ideal woman, the burden as an ideal woman to have children, to be a childbearer, and also be the masculine side of a father to protect their children, and can lead them to act vicious. I guess that's I can take from the Haryadi's research, and it's really interesting. I guess that you can develop more and sharing soon in the next conference about your research, and I hope that can change and transform our society point of view about the gender construction. So once again, it's really not, and it's a common sense that in Southeast Asia, the mystical evil the horror, the ghost, the Satan. It's part of our life, I guess. It's like cohabit. We can cohabitant with them. We cannot avoid that. There's always the other, yeah, the fear of the other, the unknown that challenging us in everyday life. So this great. This our conversation can be fruitful if we can dig in again in that themes. So I will next to the presenter from Pajajaran University, Mbak Ratna. Are you here yet?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Mbak Ratna.
Okay, thank you, Bu Meka. Allow me to share my screen.
You have 15 minutes to present your paper. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bu Meka, once again, and thank you everyone for being here despite being in quite late afternoon. My name is Ratna Erika Swarno, and my presentation today for the Southeast Asia Conference on Media, Cinema, and Art 2021 is entitled Colorful Escapism, Special Narrative, and Experiencing Space in Indonesia YouTube web series Mereka Yang Hidupkan Mimpi, published in 2018. I'm trying to make this as effective as possible, so we won't get too much over time. Okay. I want to start this presentation by trying to define or to provide definition that could also become a base or background for this research. And I think most of us have been familiar with the term web series, but up until now, web series still acts as an umbrella term. So there haven't been any specific definition for the series. And it has been one of the alternative film format popular in Indonesia, particularly in the last few years, or I can say the last decade. And this compact form of serialization in short episodes are usually considered friendly because it is enabling producers and also viewers to experience film with a much closer platforms and also a cheaper budget production. So, yep. Okay. As a quick background, I just hope this can serve as an overview that web series in Indonesian, their emergence started back in the beginning of 2010s, and it has been flourishing until now with our advancing internet accessibility, and then more people can have a good internet connection, and YouTube is no longer become something that's very expensive. But at first, web series were independent and low-budget films shot in short duration to maximize their production values. And in 2015, several web series and web episode went viral, and then that becomes one of the foundation of the trend. Indonesian web series narrative mostly revolve around stories of Indonesian young people or youth exploring the here and now in Indonesia. We can see on screen several of popular theme and genre that has been developed or has been used by a web series producer. They mainly portray young Indonesian as characters who is passionate about new life possibilities or in adventure in their everyday life, or in using Indonesian term dalam kegalauan. And or at first we can see that several of these web series have then developed and also becoming becoming parts of promotional links because it is then are free to watch and it's easier to access. And with that, producer of web series are also taking this as a chance to do product promotion or tourist campaign, or at some cases or at some series, it becomes like a spin-off or features film that then can be put in YouTube. In this presentation, my focus is on a promotional link tourism campaign web series in which I am going to discuss in the next few slides. So Mereka Yang Hidupkan Mimpi is published in November 2018. There are 3 episodes of them, and just in case anyone is curious about it, you can easily access YouTube and do a search on the title, and then you can get into those episodes. It's directed by Titi Sabto Rahajo, and it is produced as a collaboration of Kumparan, the online media platform that we all know of, and the Singapore Tourism Board. And just let me go quick here. Just as the title suggests, Mereka Yang Hidupkan Mimpi, it tells the story of several young Indonesian, 3 young Indonesian to be exact. They have creative aspiration. This is Faye, the main protagonist, who works at an advertising company and has a dream of opening a cafe before she then got married. And then we see Salma here with Faye in Singapore, who works as a food blogger or content creator, as we usually say now. And she's based in Indonesia, but she travels many times to Singapore and trying to find inspiration there or content there, and then use it or process it as her work. And then the third characters is Rai, who works as a photographer. He met Faye in Singapore when Faye went to Singapore, and we can see throughout the last half of the series, the story changes focus to Rai, who appears to have to harbor feelings towards Faye back from their school days, and then they met, and then they talk. Let's just say that they talk. And at the end, the series conclude with how they all, the 3 of them, going with their choice of life and continuing to hidupkan mimpi, or continuing to keep their dream alive. Okay. Yeah, in this presentation, I aim to examine several questions. The first is about how the attributes of urban spaces of Jakarta being their home and Singapore are featured in the web series. And these urban places are used as setting of the story, but during my research, I found that they are not only becoming the backdrop of the story, but they are also becoming significant spaces to support the narrative. And the second one is how about the contrasting features of presented space and spatial color tone. And in a more comprehensive approach, I aim to see the spectrum of color tone for the 3 episodes and put them in a color tone map. We can see that later. And I hope that we can see, or I hope that I can show the general tone, the general color tone, especially when it is focusing on the spatial narratives. 2 of the last questions relates to how their identity as young Indonesian are constructed. The third question is how are the young Indonesian experience Jakarta as their home, as their urban space, and then Singapore, and then also how this relation are significant to the connectivity of Indonesian and Singapore identities in this YouTube web series. Okay, yes, this paper departs from 2 approaches in order to discuss spatial narratives and color significance. First, I borrowed the concept of space significance place and space significant and its relation to the story world in film from Marie-Laure Ryan, in which she said that space can be important in both a relative sense, then the position of characters with respect to each other in a particular scene or setting, and an absolute sense, actual position are discussed, and then distances, directions in either real world or the story world. So we can then, and I'm hoping we can then we can gain several deeper insight on how the elusive, figurative, and connotative meaning are working in a given narrative, or in this case in the web series. The second one, the second one is from Edward Brannigan, and especially from especially from his concept of tracking colors in cinema and art. This is getting a little bit philosophical, but this approach I am trying to use this approach so that I am allowed to not only examine the spatial elements in the web series, but also set the discussion in larger filmic scope. By seeking hues, pattern, and constructing conceptual structure through close reading and color analysis, I believe that I will also be complementing this discussion of the concept of colorful escapism portrayed by Mereka yang Hidupkan Mimpi. Next is how urban Indonesian, or in this case Jakarta, but I'm a little bit hesitating in actually there's no specific attributes that we can use to refer to Jakarta, but Indonesia in general is represented or is shown through nondescript spaces, and so we can see there's no other attributes that can relate this to a specific place in Indonesia. And in contrast, we can see that Singapore are established or are constructed in this web series as a place of colors. We can see specifically how they use establishing shots in this case, or how they put their characters inside the screen. We can see the landmarks and some familiar spots, I suppose, for most of us. And then we can see in this one the specific gate for Bugis street food street. And then we can see I'm sorry if these are too small, but we can see the street posts, and then this is an actual street that we can easily identify. And yeah, even when they went to the museum, the establishing shot was showing the museum names pretty clearly, and then therefore giving a very specific attributes to referential urban spaces that are shown in this web series. I have it in my note that I first want to apologize that perhaps this is only a small visual to all of you, but I also hope that this can also give a very general description. We can see here this is a color tone map for the whole series, and in which we can see how the progressing or how the change in color hues and how the web series then use colors to emphasize the difference of space and place. We can see the soft muted colors used for representing reality. At first, this is where Faye struggles with her daily lives, how she feels weary of being in her office and with her life. And also this similar soft muted colors are also used at the end when the story switched to Rai, and Rai found out that Faye decided to marry her fiance instead of giving him another chance. And in contrast, we can see how Singapore, which is presented in this timeline, are shown colorfully. There are very strong contrasts, and this really emphasized that they are in Singapore. They are free of commitment, and then they are surrounded by vivid colors. The places that they are visiting are colorful places, and they are shown roaming in vibrant city where life are dynamic. And then, this for me, this for me show a portrayal of Singapore as the getaway place in which Faye's encounter with her friends as a creative people who are actually living their dreams happens in colorful places. Bold and vivid colors used in contrast. We can see bold red here, or in contrast with green and yellow. I hope this can come through completely. And then especially at the end where the dreamy sequence started to begin before they have to split, purple or soft purple becomes one of the telltale way to notify us as a viewer that their time in Singapore is about to end. And then we can see at the end when Faye's back in Jakarta and Rise back in Jakarta, we are returning to the soft muted colors. And how then space is experienced in a contrast. There are very clear contrast of how Jakarta is then, or urban Indonesia in this case, as their home, are portrayed. We can see not only that they employ soft colors, soft muted colors, but all the characters have somber expression. They are placed in the side of the screen. We cannot see them being at the center of the web series. While in Singapore, in contrast, we can see them having fun. I specifically choose the one where they are smiling, but they are smiling a lot in Singapore. So we can see the spontaneous, the inspiring, and the passionate portrayal of how a young Indonesian are experiencing Singapore. Okay, just to go quickly. And I want to also perhaps just very short addressing on how YouTube tourism works here, and how YouTube, while serving as an easy platform to construct the depiction of young urban Indonesian with their adventure and their mobility in the South Asian region, also plays an important role in distribution and in relaying these stories to the viewers. We can see that, we can see that this is pre-pandemic, unfortunately or sadly, but there are a trend, or there are a trend that is supported by Mereka Yang Hidupkan Mimpi, that young Indonesian characters are then portrayed passionately. They have dreams. They can travel easily, and they can visit especially Southeast Asian regions in a heartbeat. You don't actually need passport. You can book your flight within a few clicks, and then it became significant part of their urban identity. Just a few concluding key points for my presentation today. And upon this quick presentation and my research on colorful spatial narrative and the space experience, I at this point I'm concluding that Mereka Yang Hidupkan Mimpi then strengthens Singapore portrayal as the producer of constructed tourism image, and in which Singapore is portrayed as a colorful oasis and a source of inspiration. Faye, who were tired of her life, then simply choose to go to Singapore to unwind for a few days. And I believe that this is something that is perhaps familiar for some of us, or perhaps we are aware of how this trend was back before the pandemic began. I also want to highlight that this web series in particular also produce or support the image of young urban Indonesian as the main consumers of Singapore tourism. I am aware that this web series are especially constructed as a promotional campaign, but then how these young urban Indonesian who are involved in this campaign are portrayed and how the space they are then visiting becomes something that could be important to be examined in consideration considering how their identity is then constructed. And lastly, this is actually my preliminary conclusion, which then I think could use a little bit of feedback or perhaps closer reading later. But I argue that Mereka yang Hidupkan Mimpi then becomes a contemporary representation of the socio-cultural connectivity between Indonesia and Singapore as two neighboring countries. And on this note, as well, one of my last point, I would like to return to my third research question. That is how the young Indonesian experience Jakarta as home and Singapore as their escapade destination. What is Singapore to young urban Indonesian and how Jakartan perceives Singapore? And I believe that this web series have shown a form of redefinition of rereading meaning of their identity that could also become one of the contemporary representations of the socio-cultural connectivity between Indonesia and Singapore. And through YouTube web series, especially the connectivity of Indonesia and Singapore and how their identities interact and relates can be explored, rediscovered, and then performed. Okay, that concludes my presentation. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to hearing feedbacks or if you have any further questions for me later, I'll be gladly answering them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mbak Ratna,
Yeah.
for your amazing presentation. It's really interesting what you already give us this day. I can see the intersectional issues here play big important roles, not only for the gender problems, but also for capitalism as we work all as worker, urban life, and we see routine as something that's really tormenting to us, and then we try to escape, and see escape as a passion, as a something that you dream about, and it's colorful, it represents through your presentation about the tone of the visual language. The visual tell us directly what our current problem as a millennials facing this day, and also the escape require consumption at the end, and the consumption is not stopped through the tourism or something like that, but also maybe for celebrating life. Maybe it's just we want to try to run from our routine and then get back and get married because the main characters cannot escape from the real life, but they can escape, try to find a liberation in that very limited space. I guess that it's really important to give us the story about what we facing today. Thank you so much, Baratna, and I guess the participants can start to write the questions in the chat column so that we can ask the presenter. You can see in the format Q&A session, you can write your name, your question, and to whom you want to ask. Okay, the fourth presenter is come from our neighbor country. Their is Dr. Hani. Dr. Hani Salwah Yaakob from University Putra Malaysia. And then there is Badru Redzwan Abu Hassan from University Kebangsaan Malaysia. And also there is Asrul Abdul Qadir from College University Polytech Mara, Kuala Lumpur. And the last one, Roslina Abdul Latif from Taylor's University, Malaysia. So, hello.
Hi again.
Hani, are you alone, and do you have your friends here?
Yeah, I have my other team member here. I have Azrul Abu Qadir together with us. Okay. For my presentation, I will use the recorded video that I have sent to the community.
Yeah,
I'm
thank
afraid
you.
that because in KL it's about to rain.
Yeah, okay. Mbak Socha can help us to prepare the presentation. So, okay. So let's hear what Dr. Hani and et al. Can give us today.
Hi, and also Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to all of you here in SIMCA 2021. I am Dr. Hanis Halwa Yaakob from University Putra Malaysia, and today I would like to share with you guys the findings from our research. Okay, our title is The Malaysian Film Community Movement, its history and contribution. And my group consists of myself, Dr. Hanisallah Yaakob from University Putra Malaysia. We also have Mr. Badru Rizwan Abu Hassan from University Kebangsaan Malaysia. We have also Azrul Abdul Qadir from Polytech Mara University College. And last but not least is Associate Professor Dr. Roslina Abdul Latif from Taylor's University. And for your information, that this 2-year study is generously funded by University Kebangsaan Malaysia University Research Grant in collaboration with our industry partner, FINAS or National Film Board of Malaysia. Okay, as you can see that from this slide, we share with you guys that this whole research is depend on this model from Bloomer social movement, which derive from shared individual or community interests such as social, cultural, economic, political, religious, and etc. And its mission to which they subscribe to and motivated to achieve. And justification on the choice that they made is informed by rational choice theory by Michael Bunton. Okay. In this rational choice theory, stated that how consideration of cost and benefit or price govern a person's decision to any given situation. And from this theory, it depends on 4 presumption. The first one, individual act to obtain maximum net advantage. The second one, action at one moment in time influence or modify the alternative between which individual will have to choose at subsequent moment. And also socialization causes human to recognize their dependence on others and need to forego selfish gratification at times. And also the last one is individual with at times be obliged to join with others in collective action or to follow strategies that others will engage in such action. Okay, when we talk about film community as global social movement, we can see from each part of the world does have a representative about this film community. As we can see, an example from Europe is European Film Challenge. Like Latin America, we have the Scene Club of Colombia, for example. In India, we have Light Cube Film Society, Habitat Film Club. In Southeast Asia, like Indonesia, just this is only an example. We know that Indonesia, have lots of this community, or they call it communitas. And for the sake of this presentation, I only give one example, which is Komunitas Film Jakarta. In Malaysia, we have among the famous one is Wayang Budiman. And in Singapore, we have Singapore Film Society. Okay, when we talk about in the context of Malaysia, Malaysian film community, in view of aim to win to make a winnable submission for Oscar, so this National Film Board of Malaysia embarked on the project known as Oscar Project, and varied yet holistic strategies have been designed and developed through Club Pencinta Seni and Community Cinema Roadshow by FINAS themselves. However, such efforts are apparently limited to specific local or film community targeted by FINAS. As we can see, those that are being targeted by FINAS is only a few, but despite this perceived gap above, there's other film communities nationwide that have demonstrated that they are capable of filling this gap by assuming the multiple tasks of providing the industry's new creative workforce with relevant experience and knowledge. And film communities, in fact, are formed as a social movement in different regions of country, either by film industry creative circle or simply the film enthusiasts themselves. And being independent, the communities have made the initiative to organize film screening, film appreciation, and even promoting new talents to the society, to the industry, sorry. And using Herbert Blumer social movement and Michael Bunton rational choice theories, the historiography of film communities and their contribution will be examined as they construct an alternative cinematic sphere in this country where critical appraisal of films and spectatorship can take place. Okay, as methodology for this particular research or particular presentation, we focus only focus group discussion with either the film communities coordinator, programmer, or admin themselves. And 8 active communities have been selected for this study, which comprise of Club Seni Film Malaysia, Bicara Film, Panggung Pantai, Rumah Film, Wayang di Atas, Loka Cipta, Club Film and Music Malaysia, and Movie Addict. Okay, a little bit about findings. When we talk about community history, the first one we cannot take for granted. This community represent as a place for film screening. Some will charge with annual fees and some just for free, and different genres of film from cinema screening. They offer like new wave film, repertoire cinema, cult and iconic directors from all over the world, especially from China, Hong Kong, a new wave, and also Latin America. And as combination between academic and industry, this is particularly important to one of the community, which is also providing professional academic professional academic education to the players of industry, and audience building, especially for rural community, especially in Terengganu, which they don't only have a few cinema. So this is important for the rural community especially. And as a place for film discussion and appreciation, most of the community is as a place for film discussion and appreciation. And also some of them is for film and star archiving, like one of the community in Facebook, they try to archive the information and historiography about a particular film, or particular directors, of particular stars, especially during Jalan Ampas in Singapore, P. Ramlee's and Friends, right? So they acted for this film and star archiving. Okay, when we talk about funding and collaboration, most of them have no specific fund. Some using their own money, or using the screening space as coffee shop to gain money for the screening. Only from 8, only community have got the government body fund, which is Wayang di Atas in Perak. They get the fund from Perak government. Okay, they have special fund for arts and also literature there. And beside that, we can see the collaboration with local tourism bodies, and be included as one of important event in tourism event. International film communities, embassies, and invited as member of NETPAC. And they also act as collaboration with school and higher learning institution to screen film, appreciation, and also discussion. And also they acted as place for film promoting with film houses in Malaysia, promoting new films, or maybe they also generate discussion about this new film, critics, and so on. Okay, we already come to discussion. Okay, what we can see here, most of the community typical problem is place of operation and also fund. And film community is not just as the place for film enthusiasts, social escapade, but also important for audience building, for appreciation especially, and discussion, promoting new talents and films, and collaboration with different bodies. We quite shocked as we can see. They not only collaborate with the industry themselves, but also embassies, right? Especially, if I'm not mistaken, one of them is Colombia embassy. So they get the film from Colombia through the embassies, so they can screen this film at their community. So this is among the important or gist of the study that we get. Okay, research implication and insight. Using social movement and rational choice theory, we can conclude that the decision of individual to join such film community due to their passion and reward, but in this case is not money, but more to satisfaction and socialization. And contribution, such as for international collaboration and also film tourism. Okay, an alternative venue to promoting films and as part of formal educational activities. Okay, and this contribution have been overlooked by authorities such as FINAS themselves. And the suggestion that we come out from this research is the development of film community not only for film appreciation and audience building, but also a place to develop new talent in film industry. And that's all from us. Thank you and goodbye.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Hani, for your presentation. Do you want to add something a little before we close?
Okay, I think I have to add that this for this particular presentation, the result that we get is more to preliminary. It's just the beginning of the research actually, because we in the middle of it's about 6 months, just 6 months, and we try to cover all over the Malaysia, including Sabah and Sarawak. And also north part of peninsula and east coast, including this Terengganu and Kelantan in east coast of peninsula. So maybe it's just a little bit, a little gist from our whole research. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I think that what you discover, you try to give a map for us in a Southeast Asian, Southeast Asian scholars, especially in cinema and films, about what exactly happened in Malaysia, especially in film communities in there, and you give us a very important story to tell us about what happened in there, because as far as I'm concerned, that Malaysia popularly known for their a lot of film communities, and I learned a lot from your research. And in Center for Southeast Asian Social Studies, we have Southeast Asian short film festivals, and we regularly accept many various films from different genre from Malaysia, and they often affiliated with some film communities in there. So it's very important to know that. And I guess when Mbak Ratna's research about space, which is mediated by the web series, I guess what you try to tell us is the film communities also can be space for the social global movement, especially in Malaysia. The film communities there can be the alternative, the space from the social political order in Malaysia, which sometimes give limitation to the freedom expression of the people, but the film communities can give escape space for them.
Alternative
And,
spaces.
yeah, alternative space, give them appreciation, and give extended conversation about the discourse happen in Malaysia through films. So thank you for
Actually,
your research.
Mbak Miki, I've learned a lot through Indonesian communities research actually. That in Malaysia we don't have research on these communities, what the contribution and histories. Unlike in Indonesia, it's very thorough research about community. So I learned a lot about this film community, and some of it I try to adapt in the perspective of how Indonesian scholars look at their film community. Yeah, I learned a lot too from you guys.
Yeah, so it's changed knowledge, and it's a good thing to do. Thank you, Dr. Hani, for your presentation. And I will go to the last presenters in this session. I will invite Mbak Bunga Siagian to give her presentation. You want to you want to our staff assist you? You want? You want to share this video, or you just want to present directly? Okay. Some Mbak Socha can help us to share screen the video.
Hello everyone, I'm Bunga Pratiwi Siagian, a master's student of Cultural Studies from University of Indonesia. Today I will present to you my ongoing research titled Video as Territory, Papua as Concept. This research is my response to the discussion on regional cinema, or specifically Southeast Asian cinema. Philippa Lovat has defined the characteristic of Southeast Asian cinema, one of which is the interrelated history, and that is intertwined with local cosmology. Well, I will take Philippa proposal regarding the local cosmologies to read or let's say try to define what is indigenous cinema is. After all, but what does indigenous cinema means? Is it cinema about indigenous community, or is it cinema made by the community itself, the indigenous community itself? But to avoid the binary position of this kind of categorization, I will go beyond of the definition by whom it was produced. Instead, I will focus on what kind of production model that able to represent life, but also the rich knowledge produced by the indigenous community itself. For that, I propose video as a location, as a territory, to get closer to what is indigenous cinema is. Here's the point of the word of video as territory instead of Papua as territory. The argument is this is kind of an attempt to get out of the distant gaze, which has been produced by the center to represent Papua. Therefore, I consider the flexibility and the nature of the video itself. So that's, I think the video as territory has a richer mode of representational possibilities. I will start with the short history of Indonesian video culture. Saya video technology first entering Indonesia in the early 80s, but has not been used as a production tool. It is still consumption tools in the sense of, if we took example Betamax or VHS, so people can watch videos at home. It wasn't until in 90s that video technology had a political impact, as if we remember the incident daily video that broadcast by on foreign television. Also the emergence of private television, especially SCTI in the late 80s, made the potentiality of video camera to exploit with the advent of production of advertisements, music video, etc. So there were a lot of production house in the 90s. In the context of the film world, the economic crisis in the late 90s made celluloid as material is unaffordable. So making films with video technology is, it's the only option, I think. But of course, apart from affordable production materials, another agency was ideological in the context of the death of Indonesian cinema during 90s. So the video culture, which ground in the previous 2 decades, found its momentum just after the the fall of Suharto regime, and the democratic climate began. In the film scenes, there was an emergence of a generation of independent filmmakers. The independent word in here have a specific meaning and context, especially the resistance of distribution monopoly distribution, the death of Indonesian cinema in 90s, and also the artistic achievement that has stuck from Indonesian film. But at the same time, the word of independent also has a meaning of amateur. With the emergence of many production-based film communities, at that time, jargon such as bikin film itu gampang, making film is easy, became the main spirit of many Indonesian film community. Along the way, the film communities not only deal with film production but also appreciation, which then it became a solid ecosystem for today's important film directors in Indonesia. For example, Edwin, his earlier short films was screened or distributed in this kind of ecosystem. So yeah, the result of this journey of the development of video technology and the culture of the ecosystem that surrounds this era is the emergence of directors with their respective cinematic characteristics. It could be said that Indonesia has produced film authors who form a new aesthetic system which became reference for the next generation of filmmakers today. But interestingly, the term video in this context occupy, this is at the bottom of the hierarchy of medium in the film world. The second thing that emerged during early 2000 is also video activism, which use video as a new activism medium. Actually, all of them has a similar idea about community empowerment. And of course, we cannot miss this watchdog, which just received a Magsaysay award. There's an interesting article from Giri Sambu actually that he is pointing about the limitation of authorism, because the idea of authorism is actually from a hierarchy between text and context. The meaning it means that the formal form or aesthetics are the main consideration of the the work judgment, that actually is also related to the way context is being represented in the work itself. But also, second, there are also the limitation of the context-based video, especially those produced by institutions that work similar with NGO principle. Often the discourse that is used and wants to be captured is a popular discourse. It's in accordance with the interests of the institution itself. That's why it has a limitation or even unable to capture the complexities of life within the indigenous community itself.
belajar bisa kapanpun dan gak harus maksain, oke hari ini harus di kelas. Kalau mereka lihat di kelas lagi bosen, keluar yuk jalan-jalan. Gak usah ngomong belajar, jalan-jalan yuk. Kita bikin apa yuk di luar yuk. Bikin suhu pale kau ini. Kayak kincir angin yang dari daun kelapa hutan itu toh. Setelah suruh bikin nanti mereka presentasi ke depan padahal. Cukup sederhana aja. Oke, maju satu-satu. Ceritakan kah dari apakah suhu pale itu? Bikinnya bagaimana kah? Mereka kan jelaskan satu-satu. Ini namanya lugute bu guru buat pegangannya itu. Terus ini namanya daun burama, kelapa hutan kan burama. Saya nggak paksakan mereka pakai bahasa Indonesia pokoknya. Terus bikinnya gimana? Ah, bu guru, sini saya contohkan sudah. Dia bikin di depan saya. Beres, itu presentasi. Dan itu mereka nggak sadar. Itu ngasah kepercayaan diri mereka untuk maju ke depan satu-satu.
The work you just saw is titled Resep Pendidikan Papua. This video is composed by 100% of data or archive recorded by and captured by mobile device, handphone of a teacher, a volunteer teacher who works in the mountain in Papua. There are two important things from this video, which coming as a result of the logical consequences of the natural character of the video itself, the medium video itself, which are the production is simple, candid, it's also individual, is unlike film that is collective working, and also minimal planning. For Papua, video is not just a technology option as we in Java. Video in the context of Papua, it's not an option to make a production is cheap and easy. For people in Papua, video in the middle of repression, censorship, prohibition of journalism activities, video became an integral device of the community itself. I personally would call that video is an inscription device. This is as a tool that is part of community and used by the community to show the complexities and the richness of their reality, which cannot be captured and cannot be shown by other medium or other forms of production. The second is the aesthetic possibility that departs from the local cosmology. I'm interested to translate this local cosmology in terms of the social, political, economic condition that surround the community itself. In the context of Joseph as a filmmaker, the limits of resource, the limits of energy, to going around Papua, this is big island, are precisely the reason of the birth of a video aesthetic that involves the body of Papuan society to make themselves as agents of reality. What Joseph did was really interesting for me because he sent a lot of message to people, to his friends, teachers, volunteers, pastors, that hard workers who work in accessible areas to keep their personal files and make sure not erase, and hand them over to Joseph, and then Joseph make a film based on that archive, and these people are the important actors in this kind of audiovisual production process. They are subject that do not have any pretension or plans, so that their bodies at the same time is technology that capture any kind of reality that are that caught in front of the recording equipment and themselves. So they caught they capture their own reality. A cinematic experience like this cannot be produced by the two types of production that we have discussed earlier, either fictional films by professional artists or kind of watchdog production.
Well, thank you, Mbak Bunga, for your presentation. Yeah, it's very interesting, and give us, what happened in Papua also. Well, how video is very important to them, and like you said, it's become the territory, the term you coin, and then it's archive. Yeah, something that we can access to enrich our data in a research about Papua. And Mbak Bunga, would you mind to add something? Hello? Putus-putus. Yeah, it's not. Okay. Can you say something? Still, no, doesn't work. Okay. Yeah, okay. Maybe later ya sambil we wait for the good signal ya. Okay. Thank you very much for all the presenters for joining this session and sharing your research, your thoughts, and what you already find in your work. Really appreciate what you did, and we can give appreciation. To give reaction, I want to give applause for all the presenters and also for the participants who's still in here. We are now in a Q&A session. I invite anybody who want to ask the questions for the presenters, please. They all have a very interesting topics to discuss. So take it the opportunity to also help them to enrich their research. Anyone? Okay, maybe I want to ask the question for the first for Pak Heri and Pak Haryadi. It's not substantial questions, it's just curiosity for me. Maybe for a long period that the research about gender are consistently worked by the female scholars in the movie or the other topics. But recently I observed that many male scholars elaborate this theme too, this topic too. So it's quite amazing. And I just curious why you want to do research about gender in a cinema for both of you. Maybe Mas Heri or Pak Heri Pak Haryadi dulu.
Haryadi first.
Okay, thank you. So, I don't know about the proportion of male and female doing research on gender and film, but I myself, since 2008, joined in our university's Center for Gender Studies. So when I took my PhD degree, it is my supervisor remind me that I have to include the gender element, even though I did not specifically address my research for PhD on the gender aspect. I did research on Islamic popular culture in Indonesia, focusing on gender element. But my professor reminded me of the gender aspect that I found it is quite strong in what I found during my research. And after that, I also found something interesting that in a recent Indonesian film, the female got stronger than before. The role of female got stronger. And after for some years focusing on the relationship between gender and gender in Islamic film, I then shift more focus on horror films because actually the genre of horror is the one that I first loved. I did not really like the genre of religious film at the first time, but after I did research on Islamic film, then I found it interesting. Then I think I returned to my first love of film, which is horror genre, combined with my my burgeoning interest in on gender studies.
Okay, thank you, Pak Haryadi.
Mbak Mega, I'm sorry. Are you sure that you're alone?
Oh, I'm not sure. Sometimes they just come and
Something.
go.
Forget that.
Yeah, we just coexistent together. Okay, Pak Heri, gimana?
Okay. Because I think it's equal to for male or female to talk about gender, and also have concern about gender studies, especially. I believe this that the elimination of prejudice and discrimination isn't just a moral issue, because it's also a vital legal one world over gitu. Making gender studies also for me as an essential tool in ongoing struggle for equality and opportunity for every of us, for every individual, I think. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mas Heri. And so we go back to the participant. Is there a question for the presenters?
I would like to ask something.
Oh, okay. The presenter can ask for other presenters too.
Okay. Especially to Bapak Haryadi, is it? Mr. Haryadi. Okay, my question is I'm doing PhD in representation of culture, Malay culture in horror. So I can see that you are looking at representation of women in horror. Okay, can I know the duration of your study? Maybe the duration of the sample that you pick, the film that you choose, and as generally, what is the transformation of representation of women in those horror film? I just love to know.
Please, Pak Haryadi, you can answer the questions.
Okay, thank you for your question. Yes, my film, the film that we investigate are two films. Actually, the third film, which is Susanna Bernafas Dalam Kubur, but I did not include the film in the presentation bit because I think it's going to take more time than necessary to. So I choose to focus on the two film, the Pengabdi Setan or Satan Slave and Perempuan Tanah Jahanam or Impetigor. The film that investigate, we actually try to find out which villain that have different portrayal of women in a horror movie, because the previous films, the previous horror film, usually portray women as something either as a victim or as perpetrator. As a victim, they were represented as usually weak and helpless, while as the perpetrator, they were usually presented as terrible. They had a terrible appearance because they were usually women when they still alive, they were tortured or even murdered by men. And when they died, they became ghosts to terrorize the men and also the society where they live. And in some contemporary horror movie in Indonesia, there are different aspects. There are different portrayal of women that I have already mentioned. Women are not either victim nor perpetrator. When they become heroine, they do not have to transform into ghost. It's different with the other movies. One thing that also interesting is that in the contemporary horror Indonesian film, the religion, the aspect of religion, has been almost disappeared in the film of Impetigor. There's no mention about religion at all. Only one or two scene when they mention about God, but when they pray, they one of the characters said that they pray to God just because they want more money, something like that. And in the Satan Slave, there were religion aspect of the film, but it was minimal, and even the religious figure was killed by the ghost. And this is entirely different with the previous Indonesian horror film, where the ustad or the religious figure would be able to defeat almost all ghosts. But here in the Satan Slave, the religious figure could do nothing to stop the ghost, and in the Impetigor, it almost disappeared. And I found, especially in the Impetigor, the portrayal of women is almost entirely different, because she has been able to overcome the problem without resorting to religion and without becoming the ghost as well. Even though there are some mix about that, because the more stronger agency, ironically, is portrayed by the not by the protagonist but the shaman, who in the end of the film turned to be a ghost. So yeah, I think I focus on these to me because they have a different portrayal of women compared to the previous films in Indonesia.
Wow, that's great. Because I'm focusing too on the religious side. As a scholar, we have to go through the reading also. I'm interested with the finding of Van Hiren before about the kiai and also the imams in the horror film in Indonesia. So the transformation of representation is the representation of kiai is totally lost, totally almost lost in contemporary horror film. Wow. Thank you so much for your explanation, Pak Harry.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, Mas Harry. Would you add a little, because you also analyze about the female figure too, yeah?
Oh, no. Skip.
Gimana?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Please.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question? The premise of the question.
Would you mind to add a little, since you also analyze about female figure, yeah, compared to Pak Haryadi, who focus on horror genre. Maybe you can input for the heroistic figure or something like that.
Oh yeah. As we can see in my earlier presentation, there are three types about a female in portrayed in a film or movie. A woman or female as love interest or love affair, and then the mother figure, and then also the femme fatale. These three categorization of the female in movie or in a film represent the female in the real world, in the realistic story. So we can see that female has a different role in the story, especially for the red line of the story. And we can put the female as a heroine or a female hero just because they are different, just because they can defeat men, and also they have a chance to replace the man role in a story or in a narrative ways. I think that's good enough.
Yeah. Thank you, Mas Harry.
Thank you.
For give us more broader argument toward the female figure, yeah. And that's how I agree. Yeah, that's how the society look at the women. We often to be grouped in a three most category, and sometimes they don't accept women who can play with which group they want to. Okay, maybe I'm a mother, but I'm also a lover, and also I'm family fatal. It's become horror, and that's the Indonesian film called The Kuntilanak, something like that. It's a metaphor for the female power. Yeah, that's very enlightening. Yeah. Okay. Is there anyone in the participant? In the column chat, still no one. Maybe I will ask for Mbak Ratna and Farhani because, oh, I'm sorry. Bunga, because they both analyze about film community, yeah. There's an intersection between their research. For both of you, I will ask about the how powerful the film communities can be can influence the society based on your research. Maybe from your experience in several area sites in Malaysia, and for Mbak Bunga, who can share us about what happened in Papua context, yeah. Please.
Okay. Okay, me first.
Mbak Bunga first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Mbak Ratna later.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Is it me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, from my research that I can see, film community can be the place that people know about some film, right? To be more knowledgeable about film, about the structure of the film, or the film appreciation itself. Because in Malaysia, unlike certain countries, that they have film education at a very early age, even during their middle school or maybe primary school, they have been exposed to this element, right? Not like in Malaysia, uh, we don't have proper if not education is maybe some campaign that really into this group of people, into the people, into the ordinary people, not the one who actually want to do degree bachelors later in film study. So they don't have the basic knowledge about film. What is film actually? For them, it's just for entertainment. So as we can see from one of the community in Terengganu. Terengganu is the east coast of Peninsular Malaysia. It's very famous for tourism. And very strict with Islamic studies, religious teaching in east coast of Terengganu and Kelantan, especially in state of Terengganu and Kelantan. So even they do this screening, this alternative screening on at the beach, you know, they just do the layar tancap kind of screening. Even these religious authorities come and ask why you are doing this, and whatnot, right? So what they are doing, they are teaching this kind of communities. So they distribute the flyers. This is not about, this is not against the religious teaching. This is how we can learn more about the community, the society itself, from the screening and the selection of films that they used to screen. And furthermore, I can see that beside giving new talents to the industry, new films or ideas to the industry, this film community can be can actually be a center to film tourism. Even in Terengganu, they are using this community and to actually promote the tourism in Terengganu, because Terengganu is popular with tourism, the batiks and whatnot in Terengganu, right? Because it's very beautiful. If you guys want to come into Malaysia, maybe you can discover Terengganu after this, not Kuala Lumpur, not only Kuala Lumpur, right? We have a lots of new exciting and new exciting cities too, a part of Kuala Lumpur. That's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hani, to answer that question. So how about Mbak Bunga? Suaranya, your voice not clear. It's unclear. Maybe you can chat in the column chat the answer.
So what you did,
Hello, I can hear your voice. It's unclear. Like putus-putus gitu. Okay. Halo Mbak Bunga.
Ya, aku di komen ya.
Maybe you can write in the column chat or comment. Ya, ditulis aja di kolom chat. Okay, while we waiting Mbak Bunga to answer the question, I will ask Mbak Ratna, the last one, toward your research. Can you give, your opinion about the future of cinema scheme in Indonesia? Mas Heri, Pak Haryadi talk about film in a conventional distribution, conventional way. But you talk about film in a digital platform, the web series in YouTube, in Netflix, and something like that. So how can you see this as potential or maybe obstacles in the future about the film itself, about the discourse itself, or change the nature of the audience maybe?
Okay. Okay. First, I'm not sure if I'm fully qualified to answer that serious question, but just a little bit insight from me, who is currently conducting research on YouTube web series, and I think at least for me, instead of comparing and putting it in a contestation arena, which is better or which is more popular or which is more hype or trend, I believe that all of and part of Indonesian cinema, and I suppose that it is also important. Sorry. It's also important for us to be able to enjoy them as creative work, and also for us most probably as scholars to be able to study them in terms of their creative aspect. And about the future, no one knows about the future, so of course I also don't know about the future, but I think one of the best things about YouTube web series, or perhaps other form of film that can be accessed by Indonesian people, or more like by global citizen, is that we are able to access more than we usually can. Perhaps if you are, especially now, since for me being in a pandemic is also an important thing, especially for this presentation. I'm speaking about something that happened before pandemic. Traveling to Singapore is just something that is very easy, but now even leaving our houses becomes something that can be very complicated. And I think with this format, with these platforms, with multiple platforms that have been emerging recently, I believe, and this is my personal opinion, that I believe that this can be one of the opportunity to open access to many people, and then for specific genre, we can go to specific platforms. And in general, there are many films, or many Indonesian films in particular, that we can enjoy as part of our entertainment. And perhaps this also can serve as a addition to us as scholars, so that we can also discuss other kind of films. I fully realize that my topics perhaps is not something that are usually discussed in a scholarly discussion, but I hope that this can bring something different or something new. Then maybe we can also put this kind of works, creative work from Indonesian filmmakers into the spotlight. So I think that's all for me, Bu Mika.
Yeah, thank you Mbak Ratna. Yeah, based on your comment, it's really our purpose in this conference, yeah, to unearth the multi-layer burdens in Southeast Asian, especially in Southeast Asian cinema. So your research, all of your research are very contributing to give that colors, to bring out the colors about Southeast Asia. So Mbak Bunga is still, are you still there? Because we run out of the time. Yeah, time is up, and the committee already warned me. Oh, okay, Mbak Bunga already give the comment. We can read in the column chat. She said that we need to place the film community in Papua in the middle of their specific social political context. Film community not really do a screening. They are more in production. It's different with Mbak Hani, ya, Dr. Hani. Interestingly, they don't really into fiction form, even documentary form. If we check the archive of Papuan voices on their website, we will see the work of ethnography. They really capture their culture and preserve it in the video. This has not really happened in other islands. Okay, thank you, Mbak Bunga, for give the comment. It's enriching our discussion. Thank you for all the presenters, for your solid and fruitful discussion. I personally learned a lot of things from you, and I hope the participants who already joined with us can get the benefit too. Before we close, can we take the picture together as a one joint session for the report? Okay, Mbak Socha, where's Mbak Socha? Okay, maybe some of you can open the camera, please. We can celebrate together our closing session this noon. Yeah. Bisa digabung, Mbak. Oke. Oke, sekarang saya ajak kan yang komennya. Oke, kita 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for the presenters and all the participants. I hope we can meet again, yeah, in the next conference or next meeting in the joyous event. We can give applause for ourselves and for the others. It's really warm and knowledgeable meeting today. Thank you very much, and I give the time to the committee to close the Zoom meeting.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank
See you
you.
again.
Be safe, everyone.
Be safe.
Thank you.